Hello, hello,
Hi.
hello. Hi,
Happy
sweetie.
Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. I haven't seen you in a couple of
I
Tuesdays.
know.
Yeah, it's been
So how was your
crazy.
Tuesday?
Today has been very busy. And it won't end after the show. It's continue to be busy for a few more hours. But not bad. How was your Tuesday?
It was good. We had it was annual doctor visit checkup day, so that was
Okay.
that was not fun. Sorry, I don't like
I
that.
have big hair today.
Oh, it looks fine.
It's
You're
very
also
humid
in the
outside.
Florida humidity, so you just
You're
kind of
right.
have to deal with it however it comes. So,
Crazy humidity. So, I want to talk about something that's very special.
okay, I'm excited.
So, I have a friend, and his name is Kirk Wooder, and um, him and his family, they have a company, and they have stone ground grits. And I've been waiting for this couple of weeks because he runs out. And people
I've
wait
been
until he
seeing
says
that.
go on Instagram. And then I was one of the lucky ones 3 weeks ago to get grits, and I bought 6 pounds of grits. So no, I can't eat that many grits, but the company is called Southern Queen, and
Do you have
here,
the bag?
woo, this is the bag.
Those are so pretty.
They have white grits and yellow grits. I'm so excited to showcase these grits. We'll put in the comments. We'll put everything, all the information in.
Yeah.
He's about to do another mail out. You can only, he'll say go on Instagram, and then you go on the website. And I tell you, Shanita, in 15 minutes he's sold out.
I know. I feel like you were like watching and watching and watching when you ordered them. And
Girl, I had my phone with a timer. And when it said noon, I was like, ah! And I was at work. I didn't matter if I had a customer. It didn't matter anything. I was going to get these grits. So hopefully, you will be getting a gift very soon within the next, hopefully either this evening or tomorrow.
I'm
I
excited.
gave you some grits. Also, my mom, I bought her some. And so they received theirs today. I shipped them out last week, the same time I shipped yours. I was very, very excited because I bought 6 pounds, and I knew that I couldn't eat 6 pounds, but I wanted to share this incredible brand of grits, which is Southern Queen Stone Ground Grits out
That's
of
amazing.
Effingham, South Carolina. Um, Kirk is also known as LaRue. He is an amazing photographer, videographer.
Yes.
He's followed us from Tortola to Seattle to did he go to the Bahamas with me? I don't know. But he's been to Florida. He's been here to Jacksonville, I think twice. He's been to Haiti with me. And I'm just so very proud of my brother.
That's
And
amazing. We're going to have Kirk on to talk about the grits
we are.
and the story about the grits and just
And
all
his
of that
travels.
amazingness, because I think that's really awesome. And then you know what else? You have been eating yours. I can see that your grits have been dug into. So how were they?
They were delicious. And I did shrimp and grits, of course, and andouille sausage and happiness. And I made a small little bowl. I would just soon I'll do some. I want to do some grit cakes. I definitely want to make some grit cakes.
You know, I love a good grit cake.
Yes. So I want to do a few other little things. And I like fried grits too. Have you ever had fried grits?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I made that up a couple of months ago, and I'll send that to you. We'll take some pictures and go over that. But it was delicious. And
Well,
with honey, fried grits with honey.
ooh.
I love sugar.
You're a pastry chef. Of course you love sugar. So I'm excited about our guest today.
Yes.
Another wonderful person that I met during my time with the James Beard Bootcamp, and really just kind of helping us continue on with this series of activism that we've been on for the last few weeks as we lead up to this very important election period. I think that we have to have all the different perspectives, especially when there's some legislation that really kind of affects our industry and where all the different people are working in this. So I think she was probably born an activist. It seems like her mom, from her bio, seems pretty amazing. So
yeah, I got to read a little bit on Toni. I'm pretty excited about
yes. So she's another Florida girl like you.
Hey.
You're in Jacksonville. She is in Melbourne, Florida. You know, I don't know anything about Florida.
It's not that far. I mean, it's like maybe 3.5 hours.
Okay, that's not that far. That's like from here to Wichita, so that's not that far.
Right.
And she says that her mother is her mentor. Her mom is also a two-time James Beard Award winner, which is amazing. She grew up in a large food-centric family that share the love of knowledge, travel, and culture. She likes to embrace all different types of cultures and ideas. And this is what we have to talk about this because she has a master's degree in political science.
Wow.
She's worked in the nonprofit sector, and her joy.
Don't give it all up. Let her just tell us.
I'm like, how do you go from? We got to talk about how she went from political science to culinary.
Yeah. So let's get her on there now,
so we can talk to her.
Yes.
Hey, Chef Toni, how are you?
Hi, Toni.
Hi, I'm good. Hi, I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We are amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. I don't know. I was spilling all the beans about you.
Yes, was.
When she sent her bio over, she's like, "It's not that updated." I was like, "Girl,
it hasn't been updated in like 3 years, to be totally honest."
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot there for it not to have been updated in 3 years. So,
it's all good. I am doing okay.
So, Toni, just tell us your heart right now. I mean, the world is crazy. It ain't easy. Tell us your heart. Tell us a little bit about you.
I want to have a big birthday cake with like 50 birthday candles and have New Year's hats and just say bye-bye 2020.
Girl.
Yes. I
feel like instead of like fireworks, I think we should just explode like a political system and everything else at midnight on 2020, depending what 23 days from now looks like. I'm debating whether to stay in this country or leave.
I feel you. I feel that completely.
Yes.
So it's we're taking things, but we got to stay positive, and we just kind of have to, I'm living a mantra. Last week, I battled a little health issues last week, and everyone was surprised I showed back up into work. Like I checked out of the hospital, like, okay, I'm going back to work. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, you know what? If RBG could do it, I got nothing.
Right.
There's no excuses left in the world.
That part. I agree totally. So talk to me. Let's talk. We're going to just start at the beginning. And we're going to talk about your mom and your mentor, because a lot of people don't. That's an interesting dynamic. That's not something that a lot of people say is my mom was my mentor. So how does that whole part work? And then I have to know how you went from political
science to food. I get that one the most.
Yes.
So I think the two stories are actually kind of coincided. Perfect. So I live my life questioning everything. And unfortunately, I am the second oldest of 5.
Wow.
Good, large Catholic Lebanese family. God bless them. Birth control was not an option, apparently, for my parents. So in that, being the second, anyone who has a large family dynamic could automatically tell you that we all have individual personalities. So my mom is a trained chef. She does classical cuisine. She does French, but she does modern or traditional Lebanese, Northern territory. Now, here's the thing. She has 5 children with 5 different eating habits and things. I am a vegetarian. I declared I was a vegetarian at the age of 7. Wow. And I remember the date when my mom was like, sure, my father was going to have none of it. You're going to sit at the table. One night, I sat at the table for like 4 hours. the next night at 7 years old, I brought my pillow. I go, I'm ready. I'm sleeping here. Not doing it. So she looked at me and she said, if you're going to do this, you need to come in the kitchen and help me out. Because I wasn't trusting her. I'm like, you know how to sneak things. Not doing it. No. So they thought it was a phase. 40 years later, no, actually 30 some years later, I'm still a vegetarian, but the irony is I am known for cooking meat. Some of my, I think it's funny because carnivores will say that they could eat all of the sides and all the they love the meat, but that when I serve a vegetarian dish that just happens to be vegetarian, they're like, I don't miss the meat. And I think it's because I have a different perspective than most chefs. And, you know, when I get someone in my restaurant that has a dietary restriction, it's really no problem. Like, my favorite thing to do is do what I call a hodgepodge. It's like, come in, sit down, give me just some parameters, and I will create a 5, 7, 3, however many courses you want from top to bottom with whatever I have in my kitchen.
Right. Those are always the best meals where you're like, oh, I should have wrote that down.
I know. And it's like, whoa, what did I do? Wait a minute. What did I have? And then they come back and they go, what did I have? I'm like, I don't know. What did I have in my kitchen that night? It's like, I don't know.
Right.
So it's like, nothing is ever repeated because I don't always have the same ingredients. It all depends on what my farmers have, you know, what Lake Meadow Farms have. Like, I just don't know. Right. So it's always fun to rethink of things. And so from an early age, she kind of gave me the perspective. And it's something I do with a lot of chefs. When I go into someone's kitchen, especially when I go overseas, it throws the Lebanese chefs, especially the male ones who are just assholes, into a tizzy, because I'll go into their kitchen. Now he's like, you know what the difference between me and you is? Or a chef and a cook? And they go, degrees in this. And I'm like, no. I pull out a tomato, because have you ever been into a kitchen that doesn't have a tomato? You can be in any kitchen, anywhere in the world. And I go, when you look at this, what do you see? And they say tomato. I look at it and I like, that's your problem. I look at a tomato and I don't see a tomato. I see it as an acid level. And then when you do the acid levels, little by little, like, I can switch out. I don't have tomatoes. Oh, I have kumquats. I have strawberries. I like my favorite dish to make was a strawberry key lime pasta with Florida shrimp. Oh yeah, because and there was no sugar in it. Strawberries are naturally acidic. Mm-hmm. And then you add the key lime just to push it over. Right. Some fresh thyme, some coconut milk.
Fresh thyme is my favorite thing. If it doesn't have fresh thyme, it's probably not. I'm like, I don't know if I need
well, both
thyme.
of you guys need to come over to my house because I have a backyard full of thyme right now. Full of thyme.
So then, you know, it's just taking these ingredients and just, you know, understand what it is, not what it is. Is like the phraseology there. So it's when I look at things, I don't look at them for what the exterior world. And that's something that, you know, I'm very fortunate to have parents that taught us that, to not just look at the exterior, but look at what it is. Mm-hmm. And that applies to more than just food. And so in the way I cook, the way everything else, I try to make people think outside the box, make people question why we say, why is a dessert a dessert? Why is it not an appetizer? Like, I have these beautiful candy cap mushrooms. I want to make them into dessert. Like a mushroom panna cotta. Sweet, you know? And then you give it to someone and they go, what am I eating exactly? I'm like, you're eating mushrooms for your dessert. And you're, you know, it's like, you know, we label these things and they're arbitrary labels. Like, you need to kind of, you know, if I can have someone change their perspective by a dish, now we can parlay that into humanity.
Right.
Like
now you're like in a good space for the activism. So it seems like your activism started at 7, that moment when you showed up in the kitchen with your pillow and your blanket, like, okay, I'm ready to ride this one out. If this is what we doing, this is what we doing.
And to this day, I'm the most stubborn person in my family. I mean, the running joke is I'll never get married because I will never find someone who makes less than me. I could not. Yes, that was the thing. It's like, you know. So how did I go from poli-sci to culinary? Well, culinary is, food is not a job. It is a vocation. being Catholic, I'm like, you are called. It's not about the money. It's about your calling in life. And again, just, make lemons into limoncello, or, ice cream, kind of a thing. I graduated, master's degree, working, doing great. My father got ill.
Okay.
I had to come back to Florida, which
And
was not a problem.
Before then, where did you go to school?
I went to school in the Northeast. I don't like to.
Okay.
Let's not make this more complicated.
Okay.
only because it just becomes like, what did you do? Is the next question.
Right.
So, I came back, and there's really not a huge, how do I put this, demand for a poli-sci history with an emphasis on nonprofit development in my area.
Right. Okay.
So, I was like, my father, he had Pick's disease, what we now know as Pick's disease, was an early onset of Alzheimer's at the age of 50.
Okay. Wow.
So he knew he was going to go pretty quickly. And so what he turned around and did was opened up a small little restaurant for my mom. And the idea was, if it covered its own expenses. Now, I'm from Melbourne, Florida.
Right.
And you're talking about 17 years ago.
Wow.
So the most ethnic restaurant we had was at Chili's. And my mom wants to do like shawarma before the Avengers. So shawarma prior to the Avengers was a no-go. Let's be honest.
That's not funny, but
it's true. It's true. If you're not in a big city or not ethnic kind of an area.
Right.
So it was like, let's just do this. There was another Middle Eastern restaurant that was very good, beachside kind of a thing, but we're going to go landside. We're just going to do something small, and just do like fresh, locally sourced, sustainable kind of her shtick. And then slowly but surely, people came in here and there. And then I thought, you know what? I can drive my mother insane. And so I'm just going to take the classics, all the classic dishes, and I'm going to turn them on their side. And she's just like, what are you doing?
Oh, gosh.
What are you doing? Like, seriously, I think you're going to kill me. Because I'm like, I want to make water baklava. I want to make, and she's just like, and then I would sit there. Like, the one thing that to this day, she goes, nope. And I would go, why? Because I made baba ganoush, and she's like, okay. And then I put flour, and she's like, okay. And then I put sugar, and then I put it in a piping bag, and then I piped it in. And I'm like, she goes, what are you making? I'm like, baba ganoush funnel cake.
I love it.
Completely out of the box. Completely. That's amazing.
I mean, you have zucchini bread. Why not eggplant funnel cake? Like, in my mind, it makes total sense. Unfortunately,
when you put it in the framework of zucchini bread, it absolutely makes sense. So, like, who says that you can't have eggplant funnel cake?
But because you're saying baba ganoush and funnel cake, and it's just abstract. But there is a thought process. Unfortunately, I don't always vocalize it when I'm throwing things together. So for the outside observer, i.e. my mother, I am just ruining food.
Oh, no.
No, I think that you're...
I think you're exciting in the kitchen. Just from sitting here and hearing everything, I would love to be in the kitchen with you, just watching. I'm a pastry chef, so I just would be like, man, I never thought of it like that. So that sounds super awesome.
And it is fun and kind of weird when people go food shopping with me, because I do actively feel like the vegetables tell me what they want to be. And to which my mom goes, are you, okay. No, I'm like, because you get these eggplant, and sometimes they want to be baba ganoush, but sometimes you look at the eggplant and I'm like, you are too beautiful and too shiny. You want to be showcased. You need to be nicely scored and lightly grilled or sauteed, and then finished off with zucca spice. Showcase your beauty, honey.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that. Or you taste it, you taste something and you taste something else, and I think the first time, the excessive amount of pomegranate molasses that we make is just a testament. And pomegranate molasses on game meat.
I'm gonna send you my address. You can drop me one of those pomegranate molasses in the mail.
Oh, it's fantastic. Like, so we just do a lot of pomegranates between that and then the famous garlic sauce.
Someone just said you have the best garlic sauce in the world. Tell us about it.
The Lebanese make this thing called thoum. Thoum is our garlic paste sauce kind of thing. And you're going to find a version of it in a good amount. Like if you walk into a Lebanese place and they don't give you a garlic sauce that tastes like garlic, walk out.
Okay.
Just get up, walk out. It's owned by some white person who doesn't know how to do anything. If it doesn't hit you in the face with garlic, they're not doing it right.
Right.
So we're no check. Garlic sauce, leave.
And if the garlic sauce, tastes like aioli, walk out.
Wow.
Just walk out. So, having my background in like history, I like to look, anytime I'm using an ingredient or creating something, especially if I'm going something from like my roots or something I really want to make my mother mad with, I look at like, where'd it come from? And I don't like the word like I say, I do more progressive.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm in a very red area. So when I say progressive in Brevard County, it scares people because believe it or not, it's not political. It just means I'm moving things forward.
Right.
Because I don't feel like it is fusion or it's any that, I don't like those terminology because one, I feel it's a disservice to the actual recipe. I feel what we do when we're evolving a recipe is doing what our ancestors did.
Like that. Yeah.
So we are just adding our next thing because the ingredients, like just take like bitlewa or baklava. Everyone in the Middle East makes it. Everyone makes it different. So like if you have baklava from Lebanon, because we're a port city, we had all this beautiful stuff come in. It's not indigenous to the area, so to speak, but you've got people going in, they're like, the Greeks use honey, but we had Indian, you got Persian, you have all this beautiful thing. So they're going like, what do you use this for? Orange blossom. What do you use this for? We use this for desserts. Okay. And then what do you use this for? We're doing this. Why put the honey? We'll just put the orange blossom in or the rose water in. And then they made their own version of it. Nothing is right and nothing is wrong.
Right.
And so if I'm here in America and I'm doing something, and it's like I'm in the South and they've got maple syrup.
And pecans.
Like, why not? If I've got pumpkins, hello. Like, it's evolving. It's just telling the story of the dish as it traveled through my family, but then to me.
That's beautiful. I like that part. So one thing that I really, really, really wanted to revisit because it's just something that bugs me a lot that we do as American people. We have these hashtag moments and we just never go back and revisit the hashtag moment. And when all of that was going on in Lebanon with it was the explosion, right?
Explosion. Yep.
Everybody was wanting to donate and save Lebanon. And have we heard anything else about like hashtag?
Oh, we had a fire in Lebanon just today in Beirut. And then the area that exploded, the government of Lebanon kind of mysteriously it set on fire twice because they're going to investigate. It's corruption. God bless Lebanon. And its people. I think a lot of my ingenuity comes from being from a country that has been torn down 8 times.
Right.
And it rebuilds each time.
Mm-hmm.
I had the pleasure of going to Istanbul right before the lockdown for honestly 2 days. I flew out on the 28th and was back here on the 2nd. 28th of February. Landed there on the 29th and was back here on the 2nd of March.
Wow.
And that's a country that has been taken over multiple times. A country that's, the one thing that Lebanon has on it is we've just, we've been conquered and whatnot, but we've always maintained the same identity. As a Lebanese person, we always refer back to one of the oldest texts. Like the reason my restaurant's name is Cedars is in the Bible. A lot of people want to turn around and say Lebanon and Syria used to be together. I'm like, that's right. That's around here. But if you go back further, that thing called the Bible. You don't have to believe it or not believe it, but Cedar. What was Syria called? Damascus, correct? The word Syria never made up. But what was the Cedars of? The Cedars of Lebanon is mentioned. So, i.e., we were our own selves. Like, don't sit there saying that we didn't exist prior to.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're a country without a desert that has water. We don't have oil. We only have like natural resources, people who like to have fun and drink. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, and we're on the coast. Oh, and we happen to be on top of Israel. It's a bad location.
Yeah. Yes.
So we end up being the problem is there's a lot of outside influence. Like if you talk to a Lebanese person in Lebanon, they're too busy trying to live their own life to care about all the external.
Yeah.
It's the outside influences. And the problem is, especially here in America, I don't find it as much in Europe, or if I'm talking to someone, even in Europe and in the rest of the world, they learn about other cultures. Like there's cultural studies, you understand, there's world history. Here, I mean, if you think back in high school, you have like one semester of world history and the rest is just US.
Yep.
And you don't even learn about the French influence on our own revolution.
Right.
If you learned about the whole, like, the French movements and things of that nature, it would make learning about our own, revolution with a lot more depth and meaning of why we do what we do. Sorry, the history side of me always tends to come out.
The history of it. I think that people have to understand that because, I think that maybe we were all bored in the house and in the house bored, and everybody was just like jumping on these movements. And then it was like, okay, well, wait, what is that for? Well, what does that mean? Well, why are we doing this? And I think that it's important for us because what you're doing in your food is preserving and elevating a culture. Well, we really have to talk about and pay homage and be respectful of what is going on. And if nobody's going to ask, then I'm like, I'll ask. I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, food culture is important, but also, like, what's important is preserving the heritage, but not just kind of, it's so sacred we don't touch it.
Right.
Because then we all have Jell-O molds. Like, with the 1970s Jell-O salad.
Everything would be aspics, okay?
Which it's got a place. It's got its own movement and things of that nature. Don't get me wrong. But do we want to only eat that? I mean, there's the traditional meals and things of that nature. My mother takes care of all of that. And then, in the last few years, I've kind of broken her from the mold. Like, she's working with the pumpkins now, which is not in her wheelhouse.
But that's great.
So it's about learning and growing. And, I continue to consistently learn and grow. We're all human. The minute we stop learning something, we should just pack it all in. I think, when people ask, what's your signature dish? Or what's your best dish? Like, you can't really ask that question. When I go around talking to chefs, I'm very lucky and honored and privileged to have the ability to travel and talk to other chefs around the world and, get to stage in their kitchens and see what they're doing and pestering them for a solid day. I always ask them 3 questions, and it's not the reason that they think it is. So the questions are for me to get into their psyche and get into the way they think, which will then break down to me why they do what they do. And it's as simple as, what's your favorite childhood food memory? What's that dish? Second would be, what's your go-to spice? We all have that thing when we're trying to create a new dish, our go-to. Obviously, anyone who knows me, it's garlic. I start chopping onions and garlic.
Hello, sister.
Deliciousness.
And it's got it. And then you get into garlic. I did my research. There's California garlic, but then what are we talking? Are we talking elephant ear? Are we talking heritage blend? Like what? And they all have a thing. And then you've got the timing and the part of the year, so that you've got different heat levels in garlic, because garlic can be very spicy when it's fresh and it's not, the oils haven't dissipated. So all that is a factor. I am the garlic connoisseur. That and mushrooms. Those are my favorite things in the whole world to work with.
Yes.
Exactly. Like, anyone who doesn't like garlic, I'm going to be honest, I'm not your girl. So, like, the royal family is not my cup of tea to cook for, because I read somewhere that the queen doesn't like garlic. And I'm like, well, that explains so much. That's why she's never happy. You don't see her smiling. she can't enjoy garlic like the rest of us.
You're right. You're so right about that.
Basically on a very, very important part of life by not having garlic.
I mean, I know. And so, like, what is your go-to spice, level? And then finally, it's like, what is the dish that you think you have not perfected yet? And the reason I ask those 3 questions is the first one, let's, their childhood memories. So like what, because we are all, I mean, subconsciously or very forward, we're all just trying to create memories, invoke memories when we're cooking for people.
Yeah.
So when you ask someone, what's their childhood memories, what, like, you can be blown away sometimes because, like, for instance, for me, it's like the humble mac and cheese, like it, it's Middle Eastern version, like, with, a bechamel, and my mom didn't make anything normal. So, kind of a thing, but like, it's that simple dish. Or like when I'd go back home or back to like to Lebanon, and the first time we ever went, it was war torn, and there was no electricity because there still isn't electricity 24 hours, but there was no electricity. We were being smuggled in because I was an American. I was born here, and three of my 2 other sisters were born here. My older sister was born overseas. We didn't have Lebanese passports at the time because America wasn't. So we had to go to Cyprus, take a boat over to Lebanon, and then we had to cry to be smuggled back into the country. It was a mess. So then we got separated. My grandfather had passed away. So we got separated from my mom, who went to her family because it was her father who passed. And we went with my uncle, who I just met for the first time. Like, nice guy. And I was like, oh, you're my uncle. Okay. And so we got to the village house. Now, no one explained to the poor American children that there's multiple homes for us and that they don't live in the village house, because we go to turn on the lights, they weren't there. Then we open the fridge, there's hardly any food. And I'm like, oh my God, they're poor. So when my dad came, I'd never heard him laugh so hard in his entire life. He goes, the country doesn't have electricity running, and they just got here with us. They live in the city. And my cousin's like, I can make you a sandwich. And I'm thinking, okay, so she gives me bread, olive oil from our olive oil, like, because my family produces olive oil. Like, the first time you actually had, like, slap in your face, good quality olive oil with the pepperiness. Nice. And fresh lettuce from the garden. Rolled it up and gave it to me. And that was the best bite I had ever had. So at 9 years old, I saw what the good quality, fresh ingredients with no preservatives make a difference.
Right.
And so that simple thing is one of my favorite things with mac and cheese. But that explains like a lot of where I tend to go, make people rethink things. Mm-hmm. So, that's one thing. Then, favorite, is garlic for me. And then honestly, the dishes that like, I always think it's always going to be a dessert, because like, I do not feel that is my strong point. And so when you ask those 3 questions, you've learned so much more on the face value than what it is. And so it's like, but the dessert for me is different than why other people do it. The reason I don't like doing desserts is that I feel it is something that women are being pigeonholed to do.
Yes, I agree 100%. Just because I can bake a cake,
I don't want to
bake a cake.
I want to be on the line. I want to scream and yell too.
Yes, I want to throw plates.
I want to have.
You guys, I never had that urge. I've been on the line. I worked on the line, but I think
your decision though, and so that's the thing.
At 5 years old, I knew that I was going to be a pastry chef. You know what I mean? So
God bless you. I do not have the patience,
but I don't have patience with people. So, but I have patience with food, and she knows. But with food and desserts and whatever comes creative coming out of these hands, I have the patience for. But when it comes to people, not so much. Yeah, so I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, so the biggest thing with me is the fact that, like, and that's why I can do desserts. I do desserts. I tend to, like, for instance, during September 11th, especially, I tend that week is a very hard, like, emotional. It's the anniversary of my father's death, and then 9/11 was kind of a emotional, because just things that happened around there. So I tend to, on harder times, I have always tried to just focus on my weakness and build it and strengthen versus kind of revert back and do nothing. So it's like, I suck at desserts. Let's make desserts.
Yeah. I was on a cinnamon roll. I tried all different kind of trains when COVID started. I was like, I'm gonna do the dough with coconut milk. Does it work with coconut milk? Ooh, I could make them like non-dairy. Can I use vegan butter? Does vegan butter work on the inside? No, it does not. What if I wanted to make them apple? Could I put apple butter in there instead of regular butter with cinnamon and sugar? And yeah, I'm the same way. And I gained 6 pounds from the cinnamon roll experiment.
Oh, honey. So this week or this year, what did I do? I tried to do a couple of desserts. There was a delay in getting me the mushrooms. So I've got the mushrooms late. So they may wait because I might do something maybe for Halloween with the mushrooms. The idea with the mushrooms is I want to do a candy cap mushroom panna cotta with candy cap mushroom honeycomb.
Ooh, delicious.
And mushroom profiteroles on top.
Ooh, sounds good.
Sounds very
and
good.
make it all vegan.
Okay.
Now I gotta push the envelope. Well, I got some pecans that are like currently soaking, so I can make pecan because the candy cap mushrooms have this kind of like maple syrup undertone to it. But I was just like maple syrup and I got this. I think it may be horrible, but and then no one will see anything. Well, no, I'll post it on Facebook and go. I suck.
I'm still making the pumpkin flatbread. I'm just doing it with sweet potatoes because
it works.
Pumpkin can do to me as sweet potato does it better. So I'm all about it.
Oh, so it's like for instance, like the pumpkin kibbeh. Pumpkin kibbeh comes from a specific region in southern Lebanon. So where they do grow pumpkins and they make pumpkin kibbeh. But I have had it a couple of places. Being a vegetarian, that's the one of the things that I can taste.
Right.
And it's good, but again, I taste it and I go, okay, I gotta make this actually taste like something. Like putting chickpeas in it is great, but chickpeas add no flavor. I was like, nope, I'm gonna do this. If I was gonna do this, and if it was me, around St. Patrick's Day, traditionally when the restaurant's open, my dining room is still closed. But I do I try to take the other cultural holidays and do it from a Mexican came to Lebanon series or a
nice.
And so I take the perspective of I know nothing. I know nothing. And so a Irishman came to Lebanon and he partied too hard, and it was St. Patrick's Day, and he met a little old lady, and he's explaining his dishes of what he wants from back home to her. So I'm taking the perspective of the little old lady from a village who does not know what he's talking about.
Beautiful.
And he's going through, it's like, there's corned beef. What is corned beef? What is cabbage? What's the rolled cabbage? I make rolled cabbage, and I make this like shepherd's pie, like explaining it, and then what ingredients would have been on hand for her.
Beautiful.
And then reinterpret them.
So since you're down in Melbourne, but you're closer to Miami than I am. I'm in Jacksonville.
Yep.
But you have quite a few island people down that way. So are you taking any of those island flavors and
sometimes
adding to the menu?
Sometimes it depends on what, it all depends on the ingredients that I get. And so the ingredients kind of dictate, the seasons kind of dictate. And I'm going to be honest, I love jerk. I love all the things, but I mean, but
don't be the lady from Food Network. What's her name? Boris, don't be
people out, Shanita.
Don't be making jerk chicken, because I'll have to inbox you. Be like, friend.
I won't do that. No, but it's I love using Scotch bonnets and things of that nature.
One of my girlfriends just sent me a bottle. I should grab it of sorrel. And I'm so excited. And she grew up, her background is Jamaican. Her husband's background is Bahamian, but they grew up in South Miami. And so they were recently down that way. And I know she owns a Italian ice popsicle little company down the street from my house. And I know she's making some sorrel pop sickles, but she gave me a nice, beautiful glass bottle of this, and I cannot wait. I'm saving it for the weekend, so then I can, because I also
enjoy it thoroughly.
Yeah, and I know I want to make some chocolates from it at the same time, but any hibiscus or anything like that you play with?
So the hibiscus, what I like to do, so I like to come up with alternatives for food waste. So like when you're doing hibiscus, so we have this one dessert called thayyif, which is like basically a Middle Eastern pancake. Like it's a pancake. They usually make it around like their version of Halloween. Their Halloween is in December, right after All Souls, and it's totally different than American Halloween because you literally can't like let the person come. So they come to your house, they sit down, and they're like dressed from head to toe, and you have to guess who they are. So people will just give you food and things to take off gloves to figure out who you are.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, so you basically like the first time they explained this to me, because I lived in Lebanon for two and a half years in my formative years before I came to America and became an emancipated minor. Long story. But they're explaining to them, so you kidnap people. And they're like, no. And I was like, so I can't leave a home until they guess who I am. And I'm better off not having them guess who I am, and I can't leave? That's kidnapping. So they make these, and I really fell in love with these pancakes because they're like light and fluffy. You only cook one side and the other side bubbles up, and they put like nuts or cream and things of that nature. But I wanted to make them savory. So I brewed hibiscus tea.
Ooh.
And you know the hibiscus leaves? What do you do with them after? Honey, I'm going to tell you, no, don't chuck them. So all the tea leaves, once you brew it, first brew, drink your tea, it's great. Right. Then the rest of the hibiscus leaf, wash them, and then over brew them again in a pot until they overgo, like so they plump up. Now, drain it. The rest of it you can make into syrup or whatever.
Right, okay.
Now, these hibiscus leaves, saute some onions and garlic and whatever your favorite, like you can put taco seasoning, cumin or whatever. Put the hibiscus leaf and saute, and you have a very delicious vegan, like shredded meat kind of a thing.
Wow.
Okay.
That sounds awesome.
So I then made, instead of like doing a thing, I did the same kind of pancake version for Valentine's, but I did it with red bell pepper. Like I did a puree of red bell pepper, put it in there, did the pancakes, and the pancakes are simple. I mean, it's literally just like flour, baking soda, a little bit of sugar, salt, and water. That's all, hot water. That's all it is. And then I put the bell pepper thing, put it in there, put the garlic sauce in there, and the thyme. It was delicious. And everyone's like, what am I eating? I'm like, you're eating food waste. Like you're eating the thing that you would have thrown out. And it's delicious and nutritious. And you really, like, most people are like, I would never have done this, but now I'm not going to throw away my teeth.
Right. I love it. So you guys are both in a very interesting part of the country, and we try to be as bipartisan as we possibly can be, but sometimes we're not. We, by meaning me. So I just wanted to touch on a little bit about what you're doing in Melbourne, what you're experiencing. How are you guys working with, if at all, with the city, with, just restaurants and trying to keep things moving and advocating for just, all the things?
Advocating. I'm lucky. I'm very honored and privileged to have a lot of fantastic restaurants here. And we've been, Brevard County, we have a coalition of great restaurant owners and chefs who are, we're working together. So like, even when we were in lockdown mode, a lot of us, from like the Bearded Chef or Ember and Oak or, Times Square Diner or Mulberry Lane, like we all were like, okay, what is everyone doing? Let's kind of just do a separate kind of Brevard County chefs group online and just, who's doing what support does everyone need? So how can we, cross promote everyone, like breakfast places, like I do lunch and dinner, but there's breakfast places were hit really hard during the shutdown because breakfast is one of those things that really can't be taken away.
Right.
And so that really it killed me because, I may not like everyone in this county, but I do not want anyone to fail because, that's the biggest thing. It's, every restaurant, independent thing, it's an independent small place. It's not about the chef. It's not about the owners. It's about everything that goes into it. So like, you know, to some customers, that's the place they got engaged or got married or had, you know, had the family moments, or was the last meal that they had with someone who passed away.
Right.
You know, it's about the staff who like it fits into their schedule so that they can do, you know, things. It's the character of a community. There are places that, you know, the food is like, okay, but it brings the character to the community. It's not, it's where the watering hole is. It's where people come together. And if we lose that, we lose our community. We lose the identity that each of our individual areas have.
Yeah.
So that's where we have to fight, and we have to fight hard. In my area, I'm happy to say that we haven't really lost any businesses. We've lost a few during the beginning of the shutdown, but right now, like, we're holding tight. I fear, because our governor is.
Well, we won't have that full conversation with the governor.
I fear for the future, because the problem we have is our governor is an idiot.
Yep.
And I'm gonna call it like it is. He's an idiot who opened us up at 100%. Yep. And now what's ending up happening is it's pinning restaurant against restaurant. The ones that think that it's like, oh, it's over now, we should go back to whatever. And the truth be told, the numbers are going up. I'm in Brevard County. What was it? The newest statistic shows that right now, in Brevard County, we're a small county comparatively to everyone else, but we're ranked second right now in increased rates. And people here are oblivious to it. They're absolutely oblivious to the fact of that. And so, you know, I get a lot of pushback, and I'm going to be honest, it's not easy.
Nope.
Because I won't open up my dining room. I'm too small. Go back to the Woodward tapes. It's airborne coming out of the orange one's mouth himself. It is an airborne, and I will not risk my staff, my mother.
In your county, is it mandatory for masks? Because I work in a county that is not mandatory, but I live in a county that it is. So
you're lucky. My area, it came up on the ballot multiple times for like the whole county, and it was shot down. Right now, I think in the school board right now, they're trying to have a special session to get rid of the masks from kids. For as great as my county is and how intellectual it is, I feel, how do I put this? I feel that the trafficking of misinformation that's happened from the national media has hurt the health and welfare, the politicizing of masks, the politicizing of, you know, just passing the buck. Like, I know, for instance, our governor, and the reason I say, you know, he was doing an okay job. Now, I didn't vote for him. I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't have voted for him. But he was doing an okay job. And then somehow between phase 1 and 1.5, he fell off the rails. Because he was opening it slowly and, you know, testing the waters. Yeah. He opened the bars and then he closed the bars again. You know, and, you know, people who say, oh, well, the bars didn't lose out. Well, they got to tap those kegs. They got to keep things refrigerated. They got to throw away alcohol. They lost money. Let's be honest. They lost money. And opening and shutting down is not how you're going to keep a business alive. That's the quickest way to get a bunch of us to kind of go under.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Because you're buying supplies and then you don't need the supplies. And then you're buying supplies and then you don't need the supplies.
And what is food? It's perishable. So now what are you doing? You're going to have two groupings of people. You're going to have groupings of people like me that if I had to shut down. Now, thank God, knock on wood, during this whole 7.5 or 8 months, I don't know what year we're in anymore. I know we're in 2020, but I don't know what
years of COVID that we've been in, because it feels like each month has been a year.
Pretty much, like year 700. I have only closed down 3 days. I took two mental health and 1 health. So we've been doing the takeout program. We reverted. Now I shut my restaurant down a week before the governor shut it down because I didn't feel it was safe. I'm not going to endanger my employees. I'm not going to endanger myself or my mother. And I'm definitely not going to, I would rather lose my business than know that due to carelessness or whatnot, I got one of my customers sick, that they were in the hospital on a ventilator or God forbid died. I could not live with myself. There's no amount of money I'm going to put on a price on someone's head, period.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. But that's a part of this that I think that people are not getting, is it's a people part. And I do agree 100% with what you're saying about the misinformation from the media. Here, the local media has gotten so much pushback that they're not even reporting on school things anymore. You know, one of the local high schools not too far from me is not playing football this weekend because they have 150 kids in quarantine.
We just had 2 high schools have an outbreak, O'Galley and Melhi, I think, and I think it was like 123 kids have to be quarantined right now because of an outbreak. And so it's like, you know, do I believe that we should close down again? No, but I think there's got to be a
responsible way to open.
And the fact that when you're throwing it on a business, like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm not going to fault any business that's going, like, that are doing the 100% whatnot, because like, you can't, like, we elect you. It is your job to govern.
Right.
And in the absence of leadership, it's required upon us.
Wild West. People just do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, but what ends up happening is
listen here in Florida. Yeah.
You know, and if we're trying to lead, you know, we're leading without any elected authority. Mm-hmm. And that's the hard part, because people are going, oh, what do you think you are? And I was like, I think I'm not trying to tell you what to do outside. I'm telling you what you have to do when you come in my door. Yeah. And FYI, if you get through my door, like, because if you don't have a mask, you ain't coming in.
Yeah, and that's the part that I think that's unfair of restaurants and of all across the country. I feel like it's asking a lot to ask, you know, tipped employees to now become medical police and temperature takers, and they don't make enough for that. They don't make enough for that. That, and it's exceptionally unfair to put the onus on an employee. And like I was telling people, they're like, well, I'm just upset. Why are you taking it out on the waitress? Do you think that she woke up today and thought that the highlight of her day would be to come and argue with you about wearing a mask, so then you only leave her a $2 tip?
Exactly. Well, not only that, but then you've got people who, you know, like, I didn't bring back any of my employees because of the fact that I don't know what they're doing after work.
Right.
I can't govern them. I am not their mother. I am not their father. I am not, you know, I have, you know, while I trust that, you know, they're going to make great judgments, I don't know the people around them are not making those same judgments.
Right.
And so that is another factor that I, as a business owner, not chef side of me, but business side of me, has to take into account. That it's not just, you know, whoa, they're here and they're fine. It's, what are they doing after work? Are they going to Disney? Are they, you know, going to the beach? Are they going to the movies?
Yeah.
You know, that's another side of everything else. And the problem is there's a lack of, you know, for instance, take the Restaurant Act, which is now part of the new stimulus bill if it ever gets passed. You know, there are people like, and I've seen it online, that go, you know, people shouldn't wait for handouts. I'm like, we're not asking for a handout.
Right.
I'll give you numbers. You want numbers? In Brevard County, a county of just over almost 600,000 people, there's 1,163 independent restaurants. That is takeout, that is bakeries, that is catering companies, that is sit-down restaurants that will be directly impacted if this bill passes. Brevard County generates about close to $96 million in taxable revenue each month to the state of Florida. That's almost $7 million a month in sales tax that they're generating from us. When we went into shutdown mode, that went down by almost half. Mm-hmm. Now, if we close down, what's going to happen? We don't have a state employment tax,
right? So
you're not paying state taxes other than that taxable sales tax. So there's generated. So that's firemen. That's, yeah. So what we're asking now, we're not asking. That's almost $1 billion a year. Right. So we're not asking. We're asking close to maybe, you know, I know. Let's just say big number, 20 million for my county, which is not going to happen. But let's just say 20 million for my county. That's a few months of revenue. You're going to get it back, but you save jobs. We pay our rent then. Yeah, that's it. No state income tax. Thanks, Beth. We're going to be paying our employees. We're going to be paying for increased cost of goods. I mean, I don't know, but every chef I've talked to, my first question is, how much are gloves?
Oh my God, it's ridiculous. If you can find them.
You can find them.
Oh, I can find them. I can source them for $14.99 a box.
Right. I saw the other day.
And then you're using them
and
like
I'm going through two
$2
cases a week.
Right.
And
people are using them like Kleenex.
Hey.
For $14. But you want them to. Not complaining about the usage, but you want them to.
I want to, I average about 2 cases a week. And if I go under those 2 cases and the sales are the same, I'm going to have a conniption. I'm like, whoa, what happened here?
Right.
If the sales are the same, we should be using the same or more.
And
if the sales are dipped, we should not.
2 cases a week in a week.
Yeah.
So
you're
there's
talking about 20 boxes at $14.99 now.
Exactly.
That used to be $5.99.
Right.
And that is stuff and then you or the cost of meat, or the cost of rice, or the cost of flour, or sugar, or vegetables. Like all of those are going up.
Butter.
Don't even go into the dairy, honey.
Hey.
Well, and I think that this goes into that misinformation piece. People don't really understand. And then we talked about this last week a little bit with G. Then there's that piece that when you have the money and the revenue to properly take care of your staff, then they spend money in the community.
And it generates.
Employees are not the type of people who are out in general. They're not buying luxury items. They're not buying.
Their luxury item is going to another independent restaurant and tipping well and eating in a good meal.
Right.
Thank you. It's not a Gucci belt and it's not a Louis Vuitton bag. That is not what they're doing. They're putting that money directly back into the community, directly back into the hands of other small businesses. So it's an ecosystem that we're not thinking about here. And a 300% markup, yes, is very crazy. But
it's true though. And it's not just happening to me, it's happening to every single person. And now that's stuff that has to be factored.
Bleach, sanitizer tab, all that stuff is far more expensive now. And it's like contraband. If you see bleach, you're like, I should probably get 4 or 5 because
don't even tell me. I have 5 cases of bleach that I'm hiding, and every order I ever do for like paper goods, I order another case. If they have it, I'm like, hello.
Right.
Like we're hoarding like toilet paper was hoarding before.
Right.
Yeah.
Cleaning
Except our stuff is we want to make sure to keep it clean. And then you've got all this stuff, and now like for me, I've shifted to doing a weekly or bi-weekly menu because I can't always get the stuff. And then you have people who want it to be like mysteriously how it was in April, or like in February, like pre-COVID. They want, what happened to the pig 3? What happened to this? I'm like, first, I can't source a lot of the stuff. Second, in order for me to price things, like these things just priced out, like it's too high. I can't justify putting this on the menu for this price until that stabilizes.
Right.
And or people get used to that price point, like in general in life, where that is now a commonality. We're paying $17.99 for beef. Like, I mean, I wasn't using cheap stuff to begin with, and now it's just like, the good thing is, I'm going to be honest, so some of my staple ingredients, because I didn't use cheap things to begin with, when a lot of the other stuff happened, it didn't really affect me. So like Lake Meadow Farms, for instance, for like chicken or beef and whatnot, they're locally sourced. It did go up in price, but not by much, because I was using. But now some things did get priced out, like the stuff that has to come in, and like it got priced out. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm not doing like, because a lot of people now turn to it. Mm-hmm. They found it, and so then it got priced out. So like initially I kept things on the menu, but then what happened is everyone else said, okay, this, so then I'm just going to go up a notch. And then they went up a notch and they priced it out. I'm like, hey, wait a minute.
You guys are messing up my price point. Stop it. So
before you doing your cheap shit. Like, I'm sorry. She's not like,
do that.
I'm like, you guys did this before. Don't go, stay in your lane. Like you.
Before we go, I always ask the hard question. And this started way in the beginning because I was turning 40 in July, and I don't know what's wrong with me, but like right around my birthday time, I just kind of like need a little bit of a bring it in, sister. You're doing too much emotionally. So COVID is a big reset. We were experiencing this in all across the board, professionally, personally. Some people it's just a time for you to reevaluate. And in some instances, whether you wanted to reevaluate these things or not, you are in a position to reevaluate. So what's one thing personally that Toni is like, yeah, that's pre-COVID. And when we set the fire at the end of 2000, we're going to drop that in there. And then what's one thing professionally, like as a food system thing, one thing I said that needed to go was a 15% tip and $12 a person catering request. Like, we can't feed people for $12 a person. Please stop calling and asking us that. It's not possible. So just don't.
So one thing I think that needs to go would be making reservations and never showing up. Those people like that. And then it would be the other thing is not understanding, like not having a consciousness of what's happening around you.
Right.
Situational consciousness is a problem in our industry, not by necessarily us, but like sometimes, some employees, if they're new and they haven't done it, but also from like the client base, because they'll come in and, we're trying. Like,
anybody
we're not perfect.
Bad Yelp review during COVID should go stick their head in the toilet and flush it.
Honey, I read one the other day that was about me tagged on to another person's bad Yelp review, which the restaurant, or not Yelp, it's on another social media platform, because every county has their own little where we eat kind of a thing. And they reviewed this other Mediterranean restaurant that, here's the thing, it's an offshoot of the original one that I was speaking about earlier. And it's the daughter of the original owner. So the son took over the other restaurant, and the daughter of the original owner, who knows how to cook. Like, I'm going to be honest, because, no one I've ever met has said that she doesn't. So she knows how to cook. She opened her own restaurant, and someone was saying, oh, how much they like the original one or the other place better, whatnot, not knowing that they were tied in. I'm like, honey, they're just using a knockoff version of her recipes. So I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so someone had commented, oh, well, have you tried Cedar's? And they go, we like the food, but the owner was rude. And I was just like, I know I can be, but I want to know what I did before I comment on this. And so finally someone said, we had a reservation and they sat us outside and it was hot. And then they made a big connection of moving us in. I'm like, okay, now I know. They called and tried to make a reservation, and people so we get booked up pre-COVID. We get booked up. We're tiny, So when there's a show at the King Center, which is across the street, the Performance Center, it's packed in here. So people made a reservation, and they didn't show up for their table. And I booked this table for outside, and they were told on the phone that they need to sit outside. And then they're complaining that they want that empty table. They think that we just didn't give them that table. And so I was like, when I'm trying to explain this to this woman, she was just like, it's hot. And when I'm like, also,
it's always hot. So
let's add to the reservation side. If you're calling at 6:00 at night for a 7:00 reservation on a Friday, do not get upset with us when we say we have nothing for your 10 top in a restaurant with 36 seats.
People don't think.
That's what you said, being more aware. So, okay, now what's something personally, because as chefs, we like to run ourselves into that wall at 100 miles an hour. We take one day off, and then we get back up, and then we run right back to the wall.
What is a day off? I literally landed the last weekend I was in the hospital.
Your body, it's usually the hospital, or your body has completely shut down where you can't move. That's what I mean by day off. Not anything leisure. It's usually.
Oh no, we don't have those days.
Because your body's like, no, ma'am.
I think going into the pre-COVID, I had a nice life. I'm going to be honest. I traveled. I loved it. Every other weekend I was in a different country or state. It was fantastic. I miss traveling. I think pre-COVID, something personally, I think I want to try to focus more on, instead of taking those little short trips, because I had to run back, spend a little more time in each of the cultures, spend a little more time with the chefs.
Yeah.
That is something, try to find, I'm really good at finding my own voice, but in the past few years, I kind of lost my voice because I think it's part of it because I'm a female. Like, for the longest time, I was one of the only female chefs in my area. And I've worked so hard to try to bolster other chefs in the area. Sometimes that nips you in the butt, because when you try to push and put other people and lift them up, everyone thinks there's an ulterior motive, and there really isn't.
Yeah.
And then some people, like, when you're trying to nudge people along and you're trying to tell them, like, good job and whatnot, or like you feel like, my gauging has been off in sometimes, and people think, oh, she's very harsh with me, like some sous chefs and whatnot. And I'm like, no, I'm not harsh with you. I'm trying to get you to see things or focus. Like, I know you can do better.
Yeah, yes. Yep. I love all of that. So this has been amazing. Thank you so much for talking to us and sharing your experience.
Thanks for inviting me.
I'm ready to I'm like, gosh, when I can travel, I'm like, to Florida, I'm going to stop in Jacksonville, and then we're going to hop on in the car and drive on down and get that garlic sauce. So thank you.
I will ship you some garlic sauce. Send me your address.
I just know that you have like the best spirit, and what you just said about people's taking it the wrong way or not really understanding where you're coming from because you just want them to be the best that they could be, or you just want to give them a helping hand. Don't let anyone take that away from you, because that is one of the best qualities a person can have. And Shanita knows that's all that I ever want to do is help and give. If I don't have no money, I'm going to give you as much information that I have, all my knowledge.
Exactly.
So on that ending note, I just say, keep your spirit, hold on to yourself. You're an amazing person, and I can't wait to eat your food.
Thank you. Anytime.
Thank you guys for watching. We will see you guys back next week, possibly at a new date and time. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.